We just learned that Pawn Stars Chumlee, whose real name is Austin Lee Russell, has agreed to a plea deal that will keep him out of jail. Meanwhile, Rick Harrison's world is falling apart right in front of our eyes. His son has been sentenced to life in prison, and there is a bitter family war going on that threatens to destroy everything he has built. The Pawn Stars empire, which was once unstoppable, is now teetering on the edge of ruin. Watch as the truth about Rick's fall is revealed, and find out what happens next. The fall of a Vegas dynasty will shock everyone. Rick Harrison, now 59 years old, is drowning in a never-ending storm of family problems and court cases. What started as rumors about his son getting a life sentence turned into a grim reality. The Pawn Stars empire, which was once a money-making machine, is looking less stable by the day. Just when it seems like things can't get any worse, they do. And in the shadows of a falling dynasty, a betrayal happens that will change everything forever. Pawn Stars wasn't just a lucky break, it was built from. Since Rick and his father Richard were very tough, he knew a lot about money and business and didn't put up with nonsense. Fans respected his honest, no-nonsense approach. When Richard died in 2018, the shop lost more than just its founder, it lost its backbone. A lot of people like the history lessons and the family interaction. Kids love Chumlee. Rick did everything he could to keep things going, but trouble was already there. In Las Vegas, running a pawn shop wasn't easy. Late payments, low profits, and customers who brought more trouble than valuable items made for a daily grind. But Rick had a winning formula. He knew that people weren't just buying things, they were buying history and a connection to something bigger. That's what made Pawn Stars a hit, the rare and unusual items, and the even crazier stories that went with them. Then, in 2009, the TV show came out. No one saw it coming, but overnight, famous people loved watching Rick, his son Corey, and their longtime friend Chumlee make deals on everything from pirate swords to ancient coins. The show was an instant hit, but fame has a way of turning things upside down. Lawsuits piled up, family feuds broke out, and the chaos behind the scenes became impossible to ignore. By 2022, the problems could no longer be hidden, and Rick's mother Joanne took him to court over who owned the shop. She said he tricked her into giving up her share while she was in a coma, but he insisted she knew exactly what she was doing. The lawsuit asked for a full accounting of more than $500,000 and even asked for a restraining order to stop him from selling off shop assets. Toy Expo is an exciting event that's been packed since day one. I picked up a half-truckload of toys yesterday. As if that wasn't bad enough, the pandemic hit their business like a pandus. The show, which used to make millions of dollars, only made $37,000 in a whole year. And then there was Chumlee, who played the lovable clown on TV but was always getting into trouble. In 2016, his house was raided during a criminal investigation. Sexual assault charges against him were dropped, but the police found enough drugs and unregistered guns to charge him with multiple felonies. He avoided jail time with a plea deal, but his reputation was ruined forever. Fans were shocked, and the show took a heavy hit. Corey wasn't staying out of trouble either. He was known for getting into fights in bars and messy legal situations. In 2020, he rented a recreational vehicle for a trip to the desert and allegedly damaged it and refused to pay for the damage. The owner said he left the vehicle trashed with empty bottles and garbage. It was another public embarrassment for the Harrison family. Even the so-called experts on the show were not safe from scandal. Donnie Jimenez Jr., a frequent toy expert, was charged in a domestic incident. Drew Max, the sports memorabilia expert, was involved in a fraud scandal where he was accused of authenticating fake collectibles, which led to lawsuits and a serious credibility crisis for the show. As the years went by, fans started to notice that something was wrong with Pawn Stars. What used to be an entertaining look into historical artifacts had turned into a slow-motion car wreck of family drama. There were betrayals and scandals, and Rick tried to grow his empire by building Pawn Plaza, a shopping center near the shop. However, the venture failed, and the businesses inside blamed him for not advertising the area properly. This led to lawsuits, and yet another big plan went up in smoke. In the meantime, the show limped along, but even the biggest die-hard fans agreed it wasn't what it used to be. Rick's once thriving empire was fading away one mistake at a time, and despite everything, Rick knew one thing for sure: the show would not end. He quickly found other investments, real estate and business opportunities to protect his wealth. The shop had seen it all: big dreams, big losses, and big wins. But the next seller brought a whole new level of cash, collectibles, and cold-blooded deals. A man walks in with what looks like a 10B British note, but it's not just any bill. It's been tampered with by the famous street artist Banky. The seller thinks he's hit the jackpot, and the old man takes it. The old man looks at it, and thinks it looks like fake money, which he is. But the guy insists that Banksy's work sells for thousands of dollars. The old man won't believe him, he only sees vandalized cash. They bring in an expert, who says it is real Banksy art, but not exactly a rare fine piece. It's worth maybe a few $100s. The seller, once dreaming of a big payday, tries to salvage what he can. He wants $500. But the old man doesn't believe him. After a heated negotiation, the guy walks away with $400. He might have expected more, but now, here's a piece of history. A Navy veteran walks in with an old Sexton that was used on the US ship Hector, a repair ship during World War II. The guy has stories, and the old man loves military history, so they have something in common. But let's face it, this isn't the 1800s, and nobody navigates by Sexton anymore. The seller wants almost $400, and the old man, who knows collectors exist but are rare, lowballs the price even more. The seller tries to fight back, but it's hard to negotiate with an experienced pawnshop owner. At $390, I'm not comfortable. I would be comfortable at $200 for this, that way I can ask 3 take the first 275 walks through the door, they say. They settle at $265. Which isn't bad, but it's not the big payday the seller was hoping for. An old black and white panoramic photo of a World War II airfield in Las Vegas sounds cool, says the seller. Seller Waltz is sure he has a relic worth at least $500. The old man barely moves. It's an interesting piece, but just because it's old doesn't mean it's valuable. He says that history buffs might like it, but it's not exactly flying off the shelves. The seller clings to hope and tries to counter with $400, but the old man stays cold. He offers a measly $100, and the seller is shocked and tries to bargain but to no avail. He walks out with the photo still in his hand, having learned that sentimental value doesn't always translate to dollar bills in the pawn world. A gun from the Civil War, the Savage Navy revolver, is being sold. It looks strange, and the seller knows it's rare. He starts the bidding at $1,800, but the old man isn't interested. He calls in a gun expert, who confirms that the gun is real but says it wasn't exactly a bestseller back in the day because it was heavy, awkward, and not very useful. However, collectors love weird history, so the value is probably around $2,000 at most. The seller still wants to make a lot of money, but the old man isn't here to overpay, so he makes an offer. The seller almost chokes $800. Rick, no, that's not going to happen. I'm thinking more like $1,250 though. They keep bouncing around numbers, but in the end the old man sticks to his guns and the deal closes at $1,400. It wasn't a great take for the seller, but the old man still got a signed baseball from the 1951 Yankees team, which sounds like a dream for sports collectors. The seller's got a ball signed by legends like Mickey Mantle and Joe Diano. Sounds great, until you look at it. The signature is worn off and fading, and there is no authentication paperwork. The old man knows better than to take chances with sports memorabilia, so he brings in an expert who confirms it's real but in bad shape and has a high value. Nope, the seller, who was hoping for $3,000, gets hit with reality. The old man offers $800, saying that condition is everything. The seller is crushed and walks out still holding the ball. There is no deal here. The old man wasn't impressed because he knows that nerd collectibles do have a market, but only for the right buyer. The seller, sure that he's made something unique, asks for $2,000. The old man laughs and says, replica or not, it's not a screen-used prop, and nerds tend to build their own instead of buying. He then makes an offer of 00 firm, and the seller hesitates but eventually takes it. He may have spent more than that on building it, but now he has money for his next project. You want to go watch Ghostbusters? Get your ass. I should have gotten a little more than €150 because I had that much in it, but now I have some cash and a 6-foot-tall wooden Indian statue that really stands out. The seller says it's nostalgic because it used to sit outside his grandfather's tobacco shop, but sentimental value doesn't pay the bills, so he's hoping to get €900 for it. There's no deal. The old man laughs and throws out $400. The seller fights for $6, but the old man says that if he can't sell it for a profit, the old man wins again. Some days the shop felt more like an art gallery, with big names, high hopes, and the thin line between success and failure. A man came in with what he said was a Picasso ceramic owl vase and wanted to sell it for a lot of money. This wasn't just any vase. Picasso himself made it in the 1940s, or, in the 1950s, it was part of a limited edition of 500. A limited edition sounds fancy, but Picasso made a lot of these owls. Each batch was stamped, numbered, and sent out to the masses. No one thought they would be valuable back then, but now they are worth a lot of money, or at least that's what the seller was hoping. The owner had this vase in his home for over 35 years, but he was downsizing and decided it was time to sell it. He walked in hoping for $35,000, which was a bold move, but Rick from the pawn shop wasn't going to take it. Rather than taking his word for it, he brought in an expert to take a closer look. This art professional knew what he was talking about and confirmed that it was real by pointing out the important details, such as the correct stamps, markings, and immaculate condition. That last point is very important, because condition can make or break a deal. This vase was as fresh as the day Picasso made it. Then came the pricing bombshell. Some sellers list these vases online for $61,000. But that is just wishful thinking. This piece could actually bring in a lot more than that. $25,000 was the least the seller wanted. But in pawn world, reality sets in and negotiations begin. Rick offered $15,000, and Chad said it was real and that what he said about looking at prices online was true with everything. People can ask all day long, what matters is what they get in the end. The seller would not give in, and they argued back and forth like two poker players trying to call each other's bluff in the first place. The final price was $177,000. That's pretty good for a vase that had been sitting empty for decades. Just when you thought you had seen everything, another Picasso piece showed up. This time it was a frame print from the 1950s. It was called Goat Skull on Table and was part of a run of 150. The owner had it appraised years ago for almost $119,500 and thought $16,000 was a fair price. The pawn shop staff wasn't going to spend that much money without first consulting an expert. It turned out to be an aqua tint etching, which is fancy for it looked like a watercolor but not hand-painted. Valuable, yes, but not quite worth $116,000. After a quick call to the boss, the highest offer was $1,000. The seller hesitated but eventually took the deal, and another Picasso was added to the pawn shop's collection. Next came 6 etchings from a limited edition book that the seller wanted $5,000 for, betting that anything with Picasso's name on it would sell like hotcakes. But there is a catch. While Picasso is alive, one of the most famous artists of all time, not every piece he made turned to gold. Some go for millions of dollars, while others barely get a few $100s. The experts came and confirmed that these were real, part of a special collection of Picasso illustrations for a book called Les Estrada. The best part was that the book was signed by Picasso himself, which made it worth a lot more. The whole thing could sell for $10,000, but Rick wasn't going to throw it away because he thought it might bring in even more money. The seller wanted $6,000 right away, and after some back and forth, Rick bid $6,000. It was in another set of Picasso paintings that found a new home. "Here we go, we got a deal, and I'll shake your hand," he said. "I'm settling on $6,000, he said. "That's $1,000 more than I even thought I could get out of the book, so I'm taking it." But the Picasso parade wasn't over yet. Another seller came in with what he called a Picasso print from the 1968 El Celestine collection. In the art world, not having the right paperwork is like trying to sell a car without a title. It raises a lot of red flags. Rick took it to his favorite art dealer to make sure it was real. After looking at the quality of the paper, the plate marks, and the overall condition, the expert gave the item the green light. It was real, but not exactly a jackpot. Picasso made a lot of these, and without his signature, it wasn't worth nearly as much as some might think. Its market value was between $2 and $3,000. The seller had a wake-up call when he realized this. Back in the day, his family paid $9,000 for it on a cruise ship. This was proof that cruise ship auctions tend to overvalue items, and Rick made an offer of $1,500. The seller reluctantly accepted the money, and just when you thought the shop had seen enough Picasso for the day, another seller came in with 2 etchings. One was a dove drawing, and the other was called Poor Roby. Picasso made thousands of these, but some were worth more than others. An art expert looked at them and said they were real, but the dove print was a mass-produced lithograph worth about $200 on a good day. Poor Roby, on the other hand, was the better of the two. It was an early edition printed on high-quality paper, and an expert said it could sell for between $800 and $1,500 in a gallery setting. The seller wanted $0 for both, but Rick wasn't going to overpay, so he passed on the dove and made an offer of $650 for Poor Roby. The seller accepted the deal, knowing it was better to walk away with cash than to wait around hoping for more. Was Rick's offer a bargain? Smart business move? Or did he unfairly lowball the seller? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more interesting deals and arguments.